Welcome back to another edition of TCM Graduate TV. I'm Kent Asefsik, registered acupuncturist. This is all about my foundations course that is coming up on September 2nd. And what I'm trying to have you do through this course is start thinking in acupuncture points. We spend so much time learning about diagnosis, and there are patterns in those diagnoses. We also spend so much time learning all these acupuncture points. So my goal is to bring these worlds together. One of the amazing things that I noticed that was being taught to me was patterns in acupuncture points. They came up over and over and over again. Let's look at the 5 parts of my acupuncture course, starting with what I call the 5 foundations. Very similarly to the 5 elements, and we're actually going to throw the 5 elements in here, I think about the 5 foundations that make up Chinese medicine. The first one being yin and yang. Then we have qi, blood, and body fluids. We have weather pattern diagnosis. That's kind of a term that I coin because we have wind, dampness, dryness, hot, cold, fire. We do have 5 element diagnosis. And we have Zhongfu. Now, TCM style acupuncture is very much a pack-rat theory. We keep all this stuff and we use what works. And sometimes we combine language. We talk about lung qi deficiency, but we don't talk about lung blood deficiency. That doesn't exist. So what we have to do is we have to learn and master the language, something I'm really big on. However, the minute we start thinking about these diagnoses, I start thinking about acupuncture points. Let's look at an example. Let's say very general yin deficiency. Well, what would yin deficiency look like? Well, we've got our kind of signs and symptoms. So we learn Chinese medicine kind of backwards the way patients are going to present themselves in the clinic. That being said, if we had yin deficiency, automatically I start thinking about Ren 4, spleen 6, kidney 6, UB23. Same can be said about yang deficiency. The minute I think about yang deficiency, I start thinking in acupoints. Ren 4, Du 4, UB23, kidney 7, and we can do this with every single one of these 5 foundations. Let's move on to part 2 of the course. Part 2 is all about the heavy-hitting acupuncture points. So of course there's 409 standardized acupuncture points. I've done the math and I use 209 on a regular basis. And I use probably 80 on a very regular basis. Now that being said, I'm going to go through all 209 of my heavy hitters. And not only that, but we have to think in terms of point combinations. Just like herbs, when you learn herbs, you learn duyao or pairing, and then you learn how to put prescriptions together. The same thing can be said in regards to acupuncture points. So, here's a good example. I love using this example. Let's look at triple warmer 6. I can pair triple warmer 6 with a GB34 to help move liver qi, and it's good for liver qi stagnation and hypochondriac pain. I can also use it for menstrual concerns, helps move qi again in the lower warmer. I can also add kidney 6, moves qi in the lower warmer, and this is a symptomatic pair for constipation. So for example, if I had a patient with liver qi stagnation, some little bit of constipation, and maybe dysmenorrhea, painful menstruation, I could add a Ren3 extra CA1 Zigong, and I've already starting to build an amazing point prescription. Then what I can do is I can throw it into my 4-step acupoint building prescription procedure, and I've got a really, really good, comprehensive, cohesive, focused acupuncture treatment. Let's look at number 3. Part 3 is all about tongue and pulse diagnosis. Now, if you haven't followed me on Instagram, check me out, TCM Graduate TV. I love posting tongue pictures and breaking them down in a 4-step process. Color, coating, cracking, and shape. Now, if you see a red tongue, and I see a red tongue, and they see a red tongue, it's a red tongue. And we know there's heat, and we can treat it with Li4, Li11, and DO14. Very easy. Now, I have risen to the challenge to try to teach pulse diagnosis. Now, I'm a huge believer in that we can teach ourselves pulse diagnosis. So I'm going to guide you through this in part 3. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the depth, the speed, length, and strength. We're also going to look at some old pulse poems, some actual long poem lines, and how they pertain to pulse diagnosis. Very, very simple. I like to distill things down to their very base nature so that we can understand and we can get to those acupuncture points. Let's look at part 4. Part 4 is all about the initial interview and my 4-step acupoint prescription building process. The initial interview is so important. I'm going to teach you an acronym, and we're going to get into why the acronym is important and why the questions we ask are important. We want focus. I'm all about focus. We need to kind of direct our patient. We've got the web that has no weaver, but we still need to direct them in terms of getting the information that we need, those cardinal symptoms. This is all about focus. Then I've got my 4-step acupoint prescription building process. This is again all about focus. We are going to talk about where's the problem, what's next to the problem, what is the problem, and who can help. I've talked about this before in videos on YouTube, and I've broken stuff down on Instagram in regards to this. This is a very, very important way, in my opinion, on how we can, again, have focus. And sometimes we don't know what 1 is, but we can get 3 and 4. Sometimes we can only get number 1 and 2, and maybe the other one, maybe a little bit of 4 in this 4-step process. But either way, our treatment has focus. This is a really, really big thing when building acupoint prescriptions. I've watched practitioners and I've seen pictures of practitioners throw 30 needles in somebody. What are you treating? You're treating all the things? You can't treat all the things. That's like somebody coming into your office and asking something from you. That's focus. Then all of a sudden, 9 more people come in and ask things from you. You can't service all of them. It's not possible. We have to really focus in on what we're doing in the clinic so that we get really good results. We don't want to confuse the body. We want to remind the body that it can heal itself, and we want to direct it in the most gentlest way possible. And building an acupoint prescription this way helps that. Let's look at part 5. Part 5 is where we put it all together using case study examples. And a huge important part of this, and I've run into many practitioners who have not been taught this way to diagnose the root problem, is 8 principle diagnosis. So in 8 principle, we look at, is the condition interior, exterior? Is it hot or cold? Is it excess, deficiency? Is it yin or yang? Then we start plunking in qi, blood, body fluids, weather pattern. We start plunking in zongfu, other. We look at 5 element. We look at triple warmer. We look at 6 stage, 4 level, all that kind of stuff. This is the most important way. This is what people are looking for in exams, etc. This is a very important way to diagnose. Now I want to talk about the symbolism here. So many of my processes have the number 4. In Chinese culture, 4 is very close to the word die, so it's regarded as a bad number, let's say. Now that being said, in Chinese Kung Fu, all my forms have sets of 3, except for the sword form. The sword form, sword using to maim and kill, has 4. But the sword form is always taught last at the end of a Kung Fu system. Why? Because that means that you're cutting ties with your sifu or teacher. So the goal of this course, if I was running a traditional Chinese medicine college, this is what I would give, this course is what I would give everybody on their way out. Let's bring all those pieces together into one cohesive unit, and let's cut ties with me, and you're on your own. It's time to fly. So there's a lot of number 4s in my course, and that is why, from a practical point of view, a lot of my processes are 4-step processes, and from a metaphorical point of view, I want you to have everything that I have, no strings attached, cutting all the ties, and it's yours. My course starts September 2nd. This is the only time I offer it at $298 US. There is a 3-month payment plan if you prefer. It is NCCAOM approved. It's also approved in Australia, and it meets requirements in Canada and the UK because it has a quiz, and we're going to do a case study project together at the end. Just want to remind you that safety is king, bedside manner is king, and results are king in that order. Thanks for watching this video.